So, Fairview, my HO scale North American model railroad, has been in operation now since 2018. But it just feels like it's time for a bit of a rethink about where I'm going with it and how I want to operate the layout in the coming months. Let's have a look at some of the reasons why. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the layout. Now, if you've been following my YouTube channel for any length of time, you'll know that Fairview has really come a long way since 2018. Back then it was just a single module, more a diorama really, designed as proof of concept to see whether a switch to HO scale North American model railroading would give me a bit of a shot in the arm and kind of reignite my passion for building model railways. And it certainly did that. Fairview now occupies this 14 by 8 foot hobby room in my garage, as well as here a smaller shelf layout in a spare bedroom in the house, which doubles as my home office. The main portion of the layout represents the town of Fairview itself. There's a small yard and a handful of industries dotted around which need to be switched, as well as a separate loop of track on an upper level, scenic to stand in for the vast sweep of the majestic Rocky Mountains. The shelf layout, which I actually only started to build a year ago, is meant to represent an industrial park a few miles out of town. And I've designed it so that it can be operated either in conjunction with trains running in the main layout room, or entirely standalone if I just want to do some quick switching after work. All the track has been laid and works pretty well. Scenery has come a long way and is now, I don't know, something like 70–80% complete maybe. And I'm still having lots of fun continuing to build and operate the layout. So there's no talk here of burnout in the sense of wanting to kind of give up. In fact, it's actually precisely because things are going so well with the layout that I've come to realise lately that it's high time I rethought my original goals for Fairview. I need to reconsider the rationale or the philosophy which supports everything I'm doing on my model railroad. And I thought that you might find it interesting to hear a little bit about this shift in mindset as we move now into 2024. So, having modelled N gauge for most of my life, both a mix of the British Great Western Railway in the steam era and a more modern layout. In 2018 I made this decision to start again with an HO layout set in the North American Rockies. I wanted to model a busy main line, concentrating on the Moffat Tunnel route, which climbs into the Rockies out of Denver, and which would then magically transport itself to British Columbia for good measure. The reason for those decisions, basically because those are the two areas in North America that I have visited on a couple of occasions, so it was kind of a bit of nostalgia and model making tourism, I suppose. I wanted to have Union Pacific and BNSF trains, as well as Canadian National and Canadian Pacific services. Basically, I wanted it all, even as I claimed that I was being realistic in my goals. I'd come up with the idea of Fairview as a freelanced town set within the prototypical area of the eastern foothills of the Colorado Rockies, with a dollop of British Columbia for good measure, and I did loads of research on the internet about the kinds of trains that pass along the Moffat Tunnel subdivision every day to and from Denver. I pored over maps of the area to think about where Fairview could be placed, and I started to build the layout, I told myself, as an exercise in learning lots of new skills and techniques, and filmed progress as a way to keep me motivated and focused, and to share that with other people, which is why I'm here talking to you today. But guess what? And those of you with far more experience of layout building than I have will no doubt already be rolling your eyes at my naivety. For all kinds of reasons, that whole approach simply didn't work in practice. Even fitting Fairview somewhere along the line from Denver up through the Big Ten Loop and I suppose on to the Moffat Tunnel was, to say the least, challenging, if not downright impossible. And although I thought I was being pretty realistic about the limitations of this space, I was quite quickly aware, deep down at least, that too many compromises were being made and that operations weren't really working as well as I would have liked. And so, in the past few months, I came to the decision that it was probably time to refresh the whole concept of my layout, both in its present state and looking ahead to possible future expansions. Although I knew that this would involve sacrificing some of my initial goals, I admit I feared that I might have to throw away too many of the things that I was hoping to model, or even that I would feel somehow prompted to rip up the whole thing and start again. But after a while, doing research, reading various books on planning layouts for operations to make them more interesting, and from watching the videos of some really quite inspirational layouts out there on YouTube, I've slowly begun to put together my ideas for a new direction for Fairview now as I go forward into the rest of this year and effectively a new phase of my modelling. I think I've said enough for one video. This has been quite dry, really, so I'm going to do a second video where I talk a little bit about the layouts that have inspired me and about the authors who've written books that have helped me to design my new concept. And then I will, of course, tell you a bit more about the shape of Fairview in the next 12 months. So stay tuned for that. But before I go, I did just want to reassure you that I've been doing a little bit of model making, even if I've been concentrating on this conceptual stuff. Some more progress here on the Aspen Grove industrial lead, tidying things up in the area around North Stanley Street. So I'll leave you now with some shots of that area and more generally of trains operating on the layout. Thank you very much as always for watching. I hope you found that reasonably informative. I would welcome comments from anybody who has got some ideas that they think I might like to incorporate in this redesign. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy your model making in the next few weeks. Take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you again soon back here at Fairview.